This has been a really bad couple of weeks for Logan Paul and KSI because they are in another drama on Twitter. And you might be wondering, what did they do? Well, apparently they sent out a ton of Prime. The first tweet in all this is from Sean Hendricks. He says, huge shout out to Logan Paul and KSI and all the amazing people at Prime Hydrate. You got an entire truckload of Prime to the hardest hit area of North Carolina's in record time. And here's that video right now.
Logan, KSI, all the guys at Prime. I do not know how you got this up here so fast, but thank you guys. I called yesterday and you guys have an entire truckload of Prime delivered into one of the hardest to reach areas in North Carolina. This is huge. Something up here to drink is everything to these guys that are working. So I just want to personally thank you for getting this up here to us.
Minoka replied, East Tennessee could use some of that Prime too, as they have been decimated by Hurricane Helene and this historical flooding. Sean Hendricks replied, send me an address for drop-off. Mulaney replied, Prime though? I get it is an emergency, but that stuff is toxic. Hugh White Memes replied, it's poison, and there's a lawsuit. The Very replied, Prime is better than nothing, but this is clearly for advertising eyeballs. Prime is full of chemicals. Koi Wildfire replied, cans of poison is not what they need. How about some water, meals, medicine, not that vile crap. Christmas Prancer replied, no one needs Prime. Don't congratulate them. But I believe the story really started to blow up on Twitter when the account Fearbuck tweeted out that video and said Logan Paul and KSI sent truckloads of Prime to people severely hit by Hurricane Helene in North Carolina. Suarez replied, nobody suffering a hurricane needs Prime. Omar replied, imagine surviving a hurricane, being starving, cold, wet, and someone tries to give you a case of Prime. Shold replied, that's interesting. Only last week, grocery stores were pulling all Prime from shelves due to forever plastics/chemicals detected in their products. I don't know. Vishwajit replied, could have sent them water, but decided to send Prime. Evolve replied, they want water, not mid-Prime. Adam Krigler replied, probably couldn't sell them, so they donated as a tax write-off. The people need water, not that crap. Addie G replied, imagine surviving a hurricane to get poisoned by a bunch of influencers' energy drink. Michael G replied, somehow y'all will find a way to hate Logan for this. Bingo Mandingo replied, we know you guys are in need, so here's some diabetes. Free Agent replied, rare W from Prime. But then the Twitter account Kira Won't Miss quote retweeted Fearbuck and said, imagine surviving a hurricane and then being forced to drink Prime. Dr. Doofenshmirtz himself replied, nobody needs Prime. Where's the water and food? Kira replied, at Joe Biden. What you doing, old man? Slat replied, that's worse than the hurricane itself. Marcus replied, I tried it last week on a road trip to Vegas, just to see what it was about. Without a doubt, the sweetest and most artificial I've ever tasted. Sir Psycho replied, I'm not a fan of either of them, but when the only alternative is the muddy landslide that took your entire town, you take what you can get. I really don't see the problem here. We the people replied, anything to drink is better than nothing to drink. I would prefer water, but if you're dying of thirst, literally, Prime will do. Good on them, honestly. Shold replied, nobody suffering a hurricane needs Prime. Then the story started getting even bigger and started being reported on some of the news accounts on Twitter. This account said Prime has sent a truckload of drinks to hard to reach areas affected by Hurricane Helene in North Carolina. Always Hoodie replied, those people just went through a hurricane. Why would you want to add to their trauma? My Helpful Hints replied, they've suffered enough. Pix replied, I'd rather drink that water in the picture, to be honest. Talking about the muddy water in this picture right here. Commander Carl replied, don't forget to airdrop some Lunchly too, lol. Selma replied, do we really need to kick them whilst they're already down? Thomas replied, I can't think of anything worse than losing everything, being thirsty and hungry, and a truck shows up and they start unloading Prime. iFunny replied, my wife is dying, but I gave her a Lunchly, which only contains 230 calories. Then she passed away. Sean replied, yes, they have. After drinking tons of bottled water, something with some flavor and electrolytes is a huge welcome here on the front lines. This was me seeing the other 20 pallets we just got. We were down to a single bottle of water a day at times. Crazy dehydrated. Thank you, Prime. Then Thea, which is actually Mr. Beast's girlfriend, replied, good work, Sean. Fitzbryce quote retweeted the news tweet and said, dude, my friend doesn't have a house anymore. Why would he need Prime? Silva replied, I mean, it helps. They're still giving out drinks. If the army gives out food, I'm not gonna refuse it because I don't have a house anymore. But funds would help a lot of people right now, not gonna lie. Bryce replied, this is true. Del replied to Bryce by saying, this is just how they market themselves, bruh, making it seem like they care about the community when they should be donating money for shelter and rebuilding cities. These people only do this to push their brand at all times. Willie Mac Show tweeted out about the situation and said, Logan Paul and KSI apparently sent loads of Prime to zones devastated by the hurricane. People are mad because it's a PR move. And it's a win-win. Send Prime to an area where people need to hydrate and get good PR for your brand. Some of you all are just miserable. Balberto B replied, while I get your point, KSI and Logan are both rich enough to donate actual food and water, LOL. Willie Mac Show replied, if they didn't donate anything, they would get less hate than right now. People who haven't done a thing are getting less heat. It makes no sense. KUA replied, they can send the water they use to make the Prime instead, Willie. Willie replied, but then it wouldn't be a PR move, which is why they did it. And that is okay and still good. Charles replied, I don't think energy drinks are a good source of hydration. Willie replied, it's not an energy drink, it's coconut water. And Morris replied, your mask is slowly falling off, I swear, LMAO. Willie replied, your brain cells are fall out of your head. Get some common sense. Overall, this situation with Hurricane Helene is obviously devastating. Last I heard, I believe the death toll is over 130 people now, and way more have lost their entire homes. I truly feel like sending out Prime as a source of something to help isn't the worst move in the world. Obviously, could they do more? Of course, someone could do more. At the end of the day, sending out pallets of Prime to people that need pretty much anything at all right now, that have basically nothing after this hurricane, is not the worst thing they could ever do. And as Willie Mac pointed out, at least they're doing something. We all just need to remember that Twitter pretty much likes to hate on anything they can, and this is no exception. I'm kind of similar with a lot of other people. I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of either Logan Paul or KSI, but hating on them for doing something like this is not helpful, and more than likely, none of these people have done anything themselves either. So yeah. And I already donated $100 to a relief fund right here. Let me know what you guys think about the situation in the comments below. If you liked the video, leave a like. If you hated it, leave a dislike. And of course, subscribe for more dumb Twitter drama. But until next time, I'm out.